Today's episode of the Energy Newsbeat podcast is brought to you by Enverus. The energy industry faces massive challenges every day, and the events over the last 2 years have caused huge disruptions like never before. Companies in the energy industry need actionable intelligence and a single source of truth that brings all the data together. Enverus is the energy specialized technology partner that provides intelligent connections for a global energy ecosystem. Only Enverus has the analytics, people, experience, and industry scope to connect the right data and information in the right way to discover missed opportunities and deliver fast outcomes. Find out more at Enverus.com. That's ENVERUS.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Energy Newsbeat podcast. My name's Stu Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group. Everybody knows I like talking about clean energy when it matches up with market pricing and able to be supported. I've got a fantastic guest today. She is a retread, as in, you have somebody back onto your podcast. Her first podcast was wildly just excited about the traction it got. I want everybody to meet Debra Wold. She is the CEO of Grenelily Energy. And to catch people up, we are going to talk a little bit in the first part here about what we talked about on our first episode. And Debra, give us a shout out and a little bit about what you guys do.
Absolutely. Well, today we are at a Local 32, which is a union, and they're a part of our company. So we're very thrilled to be here. Number two, in our last podcast, we talked about the key thing for us, Grenelily Energy and Water. We're a business development and consulting company. And what we do is we bring everybody into the basket of our company. We bring the financing, which can be private partner participation. We bring in now the nation's largest insurance broker who just requested that they join with us. It was lovely to get that letter of support from them. And we also bring in what we call the golden thread now, which is the union. The union brings forth building our projects, operating our projects, and the quality of their work is bar none. So that's why we partnered up with them. In addition, the long-term sustainability of them learning our technology to build more plants. And then in addition, we're looking right now for sites. So our whole entire complex that we're talking about is called Renewable Green Energy Complex. And what we do is we look around and we say, we've already got the natural resources here. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Wind and solar are fine, but they're not sustainable. If you look in your backyard, you have trash. We have oil. We have natural gas. We have coal. We have heavy viscous crude. All of these natural resources that are currently here can be used and transformed into zero sulfur, zero emission, zero carbon footprint, sustainable products that we use every day, low cost electricity, low cost fuels.
And you're hitting all my hot buttons as far as just absolutely getting to zero pollution or an impact on the environment. And you missed on one little point here, in that all your projects don't have to have the tax deductions. You keep all your stuff pretty cool because you're cost competitive then. I mean, you want to harp on that for just a little bit, because that's a huge piece of this.
Yes, the beautiful thing about our technology, which is sustainable and renewable, we do not want, nor do we require taxpayer dollars. And the reason why, our ROI, return on investment, year one is north of 10%.
Nice.
Why? Because we take the natural, which is currently in our environment right now, through IP technology, it's transformed successfully. We have plants overseas into drop-in market products. So therefore, it's a single process, which keeps the CAPEX and the LOPEX low and creates a greater ROI for our investors and allows us to produce the products that are cost effective, which the market will bear complementary and even better than what's out there now.
I'm sitting here thinking, yesterday, I'm going to sidetrack for half a sec. We talked on our Energy Newsbeat podcast daily show There are, Reuters did a study of 100 ballpark, 100 campuses across the US that are running their own power plants. And they are producing more CO2 and nasty production of electricity. Some of the power plants have been in there on college campuses since John F. Kennedy, and they're just polluting horrible. So they're out there shouting green
Yes.
and everything else. Why we need to have a marketing program to these guys to wake them up. I mean, you take Harvard, I think they're $50 billion endowment. You
Yep.
would think that they would want to go green
Right.
on their investments. Anyway, I'm sorry. That whole marriage of renewable, sustainable, which works and coincides with all of the other nice renewable and everything else driving
Yes,
the price
yes.
down. Did I get all that right?
You did. And I'll just lead off on that one topic there in regards to universities.
Right.
It's almost like they're going out there and they're painted red, but in order to fit in, they go
Right.
out there with spray paint and green paint and say, hey, now we're green. But they
Right.
didn't change what they originally were. And that's the
Right.
problem. It's like, okay, so you look like you're green, but really underneath you're red, let us say.
Right.
And the problem is that they're not teaching the kids, the students,
Right.
that there really is green, renewable. Just look outside your back door. Take a can or take a
Right.
paper bag that can be turned into low cost fuels and electricity.
Yep.
But because they're being kind of blinded, the universities, they want to fit in. Everybody wants to be ESG.
Right. But they're
But
not.
precisely. The question is, if you really were to sit down and take a lie detector test, let us say, just, for fun,
Right.
are you really ESG qualified? They'd have to be honest. The lie detector would say no.
No, it's kind of like my wife when I come home with cookies on my breath and she
Yeah.
said, "Did you have a cookie?" And I'm like, I can't lie to my wife. It's like, all
Yeah.
right, yeah, I did. Okay,
Exactly.
so we got a little bit of a background for folks in case they didn't hear your first one.
Sure.
Let's go through some of your more details in what we have. And you've got a nice PowerPoint slide deck, and we're going to have our producers bring these in, kind of show people for our video folks.
Mhm.
But if you're on our podcast, we'll just kind of say it's on slide 1 or slide 2 and those. So then the first slide, it
Mhm.
talks about the Energy Alliance for Clean Environment.
Yes.
I mean, we've already kind of teed this up, but we didn't go into where your plants go into and where you really target. And that's with municipalities and those kind of things. So let's touch on that, which is in slide 1 on that one.
So you're absolutely correct. We believe that these will fit perfectly with the municipality, taking the example that you had at a university, trying
Right.
to create your own electricity.
Right.
And what we do is we would create these on a smaller scale based upon the size of the municipality. If they brought in, let's say, 400,000 metric tons of trash, and that's basically what's in your community, what's in your municipality, the trash would come to our green facility, which is a processing center.
Right.
It would go through the processing center and produce end products like low-cost electricity and low-cost fuels. And the reason why we made it scalable, because some municipalities are larger than others. So based upon what is the metric tons trash coming in that community is what we can transform that into the products that they need. The benefit to the municipality and the county is this. They can use that as a marketing tool and say, we really do provide green, sustainable, renewable electricity at a low cost.
Right.
Green, sustainable, renewable fuels like diesel at a low cost.
I'm going to stop here for half
Yeah,
sec,
please.
because green hypocrisy drives me nuts. And what you talked about last time was ESG with accountability through measurability. And
Yeah.
you've got the measurability in your systems. Is that correct?
Precisely. Absolutely.
I was
Absolutely.
awake on our last call, on our last
Yeah.
podcast. So go and your accountability. So they're not marketing falsely their ESG solution.
Absolutely. 100% ESG. Both of our companies, from the business development to the technology, woman-owned and operated energy companies.
Nice.
And we keep it that way so that not so we can fit into the ESG. And we're not against working with men. You know, it's like all these people have got some weird ideas. I read something weird on LinkedIn today where men are like being looked upon as like negative. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We're all working together to save our global economy. And men have great ideas as well as women have great ideas. Yep. We can all come together at the green table. And the benefit of that being ESG, or, you know, through and through, is that our perspective is how can we help the economy where we're at today so that the fuels that we produce can help the low income families that can't afford the higher prices out there.
Right.
You know,
let me ask this, Debra, because you and I get so passionate about this.
I know.
We're like, okay, quit. Sorry. The disproportionately impacted communities, and let's take either Detroit or New York City or these others, they would be huge contracts and potential money makers for this kind of a thing, because the energy in those areas, you got to replace the coal plants. You got to replace these things, and they won't build pipelines. Right. So this is something that you can do in those areas to lower the cost for the disproportionately impacted communities. I mean,
precisely. You're absolutely correct. So under the Inflation Act, right? There's all these billions of dollars that are out there for green, renewable, waste to organics technology.
Right.
Well, we're that. We don't want to go after those subsidies because we don't feel that that's right, because our ROI is north of 10%. But what we say to the municipalities, you have access through your grant writers to go after that to help build up your underprivileged communities. We'll help you. We have a service that can help them build that up and help them write the right language. And our new attorney that we just brought on, he's phenomenal. And that's the environmental spaces where he works. And he said, if municipalities would wake up, they're sitting on great, great opportunities where they can access those grants because they have a true green technology that will benefit that underprivileged community.
I'm stunned. I stumbled into, I'm over here thinking I'm brilliant, and you've already got the whole solution all done.
We're brilliant together.
Oh, there you go. But you know, that is cool, because I mean, that absolutely is fantastic to reach out to these bigger places that don't have capacity or the ability to bring in energy in a green way, because they're not listening to the other energy sides of the thing. So this is, I'm sorry for getting all excited, because this is exactly, I have a passion for elevating folks out of poverty and low-cost markets and stuff. Okay, on actually the next slide, which is titled Two-Stage Green Renewable Energy Project. I think we covered a lot of this already in this. Is there your working project right now has 150 to 160 megawatt facility and zero sulfur diesel coming out of this?
Yes.
No way.
Yes. We do not have any plants in the United States right now. We're looking for the first state-of-the-art facility to put in, but overseas, absolutely. We have ASTM specs that validate and authenticate what I'm saying right here. That our diesel is zero sulfur. It's zero sulfur because it's the single process in the way that it's made. It is made to the carbon base that's in trash.
All right, my head exploded, and let me explain why. In 2021, the EIA put out a paper, and there are no new refineries in the U.S., because this hits home right with what is going on with the diesel shortage.
Yep.
And that is biodiesel is $2 per gallon more than regular refined diesel. But the regular diesel is refined in refineries that are over since 1978 was the last big one that was put in.
Right.
Smaller biodiesels, and please fact check me if I'm saying anything wrong.
You're right.
The biodiesel ones add $2 by making the biodiesel. And so after looking at some of your numbers, your green numbers using that thing with the numbers
Yep.
would mean we would have biodiesel closer to regular diesel pricing.
Precisely. And the fact that when you make biodiesel, let's say ethanol, you're taking food consumption away from humans. And why are we growing corn when, I grew up on partial farm, we grew the corn to consume or to feed to the animals, not to a vehicle. And biodiesel is not good for a vehicle, right? What do you get return on investment there? You get drive someplace.
Let me throw this animal at you, Deborah, and that is ethanol. I am not an ethanol fan for the same reason. Can y'all, I don't know the technology on that side of it, but could it help feed into, so to speak, ethanol?
We are right now in starting dialogue with Iowa and their ethanol plants. They have a fermentation process, and it's called green ethanol. That's a whole different project, but it's going to be consistent of taking, instead of waste, we're taking cow waste, we're taking hog waste, manure, different things like that, instead of the corn, and we're transforming that into renewable green biodiesel. But here's the thing, our process takes hours to make, instead of days to make ethanol. 0 sulfur, 0 carbon.
Wow.
So in essence, when you're making a product, the key that costs investors and us is how many processes does it have to go through? If ours is a single process, your CAPEX and OPEX are low and your ROI is high, but the end product, you get pristine fuel. That's the benefit. So farmers, let's say, all these ethanol companies and the farmers over there, we have our whole entire ethanol green complex that we put together for them, but not using corn, helping out the farmers, getting rid of those manure pits, which are very toxic and dangerous.
Right.
Bring it to us. We'll make you, in addition to the green fuels and providing electricity for your farm or whatever, we're going to make you pristine fertilizer based upon the specs that you require. Because our end product produces fertilizer in that area. Which
there's a shortage of right now. They use natural gas. Excuse me, natural gas is a huge portion of that.
Right.
Okay. I'm over here, Deborah. Thanks for putting up with. I'm over here thinking all these cool things. You've already got all these
you're
solutions,
fantastic.
and this is so cool. Now, water on the next one slide over there is water purification. How does all this fit into this? Is it because the processes and the fuels need so much water? How does that fit in with your systems?
So for our gas power plant, when you're making electricity, there's condensation from that.
Oh yeah, okay.
And same thing with the waste to energy. There's different types of waters that come from that. Instead of just putting it as gray water and get rid of it, we say, no. Let's put it through our water processing system where we can purify it from agricultural water that can be for sale. It can be for potable water for the depressed communities. It can be for technical grade water, all the way to medical grade water, depending on the specs of the client and what they want. So nothing on our system, even our sewer water, is purified and can be taken to that level. That's why we wrote all this in here to say, it's not just taking care of electricity and fuel, but we're cleaning the water. So it's a closed loop system where it's a benefit to communities and municipalities.
I'll tell you, if you're a municipality and you're sitting there scratching your head, because sometimes when you're in a city manager, I've dealt with a few city managers on big projects before, and you have no idea where to get the resource and stuff. Do you guys do the feasibility studies? Can they call you up and then pay you as a consulting firm to do that feasibility study? Because that is a nightmare. I'm going to be honest with you.
I won't mention the county that we're dealing with right now, but they came into the same situation. brought
Okay.
us there, several presentations, several meetings, ended up saying, we don't know where to go. We don't know what to do. And
Right.
I said, that's okay. We will walk you through the process and how to get those grants so that you can bring us in. Because what we look at is we're not out to control. We want to partner. We want to lock arms with people and say, let's do this together.
Cool.
From a business perspective, we say,
Yeah.
this is great for everybody on our side because we're just going to mass produce these all over the country, all over the Western Hemisphere.
Right.
But we don't forget, our values, morals, and principles of our company. And the way we run our company is very faith-based. We've got to take care of everybody through the process. And if we run across someone who doesn't know what they're doing,
Right.
we are more than willing to sit down with them and say, hey, let us help you write the grants. Let us help you through this navigational process. If you want it, we'll help you.
Okay. I'm going to nominate you for Secretary of Energy here coming up. real quick.
I'd love it.
Wouldn't that be fun? You would do
Oh,
such
that
a
would be fun.
fabulous job.
Thank
We'll leave that discussion out of here.
Yeah.
Okay. And when I went through your material here, I love this. It's an eye chart. I mean, I'm gonna have my producer flash up number 3. It's an eye chart,
Yep.
but I love it from a standpoint that you got numbers. I mean, it's not pie in the sky. This is actual working stuff.
Exactly. And in
Okay.
addition, we have a 3D model, a visual model for those who want to see how this all works. We
Okay.
have built in a computer model, the gas power plant with the water probe, with our own, I forgot what they call it. Not microgrid, substation, excuse me.
Okay.
And then our waste to energy facility and our CO2, all on a 24-acre footprint to give the municipalities an idea what this looks like. And Stuart, if you go back to the first page, or excuse me, the second page,
Yep.
it shows that I'll splash it real quickly. It looks like
yes.
a greenhouse. It looks
Yep.
like greenhouses. And we custom designed them that way so they don't look industrial and ugly where people are, ooh, I don't want that there. It fits into the beautiful aesthetics of the environment. It's so green. In addition, I just have to mention this. We got one of our buildings, 3 of our buildings that we decided to put for greenhouses for people who children want to go there, learn how to plant, how to grow, how to use our own fertilizer. We power it up with our own energy.
Wow.
What about the homeless? What about the shelters? They need to grow crops and food, 365 for the
Wow.
homeless. So we're in essence, God gave to us, we're giving back. That's our whole philosophy. Make it a circular relationship between everybody.
You're hitting every single one of my hot buttons, Deborah, and I'm going to be able to float along for the rest of the week off of this conversation. And when you've got, I was talking to Tom Jensen. He is the CEO of Fry Battery out of Norway, and they're making renewable batteries, and they're putting in a gigafactory in Georgia, and they're putting it in Norway. Those are important to me. And when you're having in grids and things, we do need the storage because you can't have this and that.
Right.
But I didn't like gigafactories because they were not renewable. And now that you've got renewable batteries in there, it's like, check. So you also have ideas, and it's on, I love this eye chart. Number 4 and number 5 after that, we'll go like this when we in the production. Poof. Nobody can see those anyway. And we've already talked about slide 6, the feasibility study.
Right.
When I was working with municipalities in the past, man, you had to have that feasibility study, and not knowing how to do it. We were the experts, and we went in and did all of the sewage walkthrough on their wireless connectivity. Right. And that makes a huge difference as well too. Then you've gone in and made the assumptions. I'll tell you what, we're not even gonna worry about the rest of the eye charts, but I love the fact you get data. It's not a marketing deck, except it's more of a factual deck. If that makes sense.
Precisely. What we wanted to do is we wanted to educate the communities and the municipalities and whomever we're talking to, even our investors and insurance, everybody.
Right.
These are hardcore facts based upon producing plants that are already going for the past 20 years.
Right.
The other is that we want to help walk them through so they understand what the CAPEX is, what the OPEX is. And here's the beautiful thing.
Right.
We are engaged with 2 large utility companies.
Okay.
And they're going through research and development of our technology. We've had several conversations with them. I wish I could announce it now, but I can't.
Right.
And they see us not as a threat, but as a value add. One has to do with natural gas and the other one has to do with the grid. And they say, well, you're not a threat to us. You're not trying to take over our multi-billion-dollar companies. Oh, I said, no. Remember, we partnered with you. We can be a value add to you. Yep. And producing uninterrupted, sustainable electricity. In addition, using natural gas, which is very key for us. It's basically, it unifies our diesel and our jet fuel and whatever gasoline. So we get the perfect spec every time. So that's the key for us. Don't throw anybody out with the bathwater.
Right.
That carbon neutral table is key for everybody to sit at.
That's one of the things that just bugs me when we're out there and we're, I get excited about elevating people out of poverty and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And we've got 3 billion folks in the world that still don't have poverty. It would be so cool to get this into some of those areas that can't afford this kind of technology. I mean, getting the funding, and you had the leasing information in there as well too.
Yep.
What kind of investors, when you're looking at these kind of projects with municipalities, which side, because power plants are sometimes owned individually, and then they have separate investors in those as well too.
Right.
And municipalities own their own trash and things like that. When you're looking at these partnerships, do you have private investors come to you looking for ESG funding, and then you work with the municipalities together, and then these guys retain ownership of the power plant? How does that work?
Perfectly said. So if you take your hand, you have the private sector and you have the municipality, right? And so they all come together because we need a site. So that's where the municipality of the county would come in. Okay. That's very key. Now you may have trash haulers there that they may not be a part of. So a trash hauler, like a large, any one of the big 4, could be a partner in this as well, because they're bringing the trash to us. Or if the municipality owns the trash or the hauling of it, they can say to their constituents, their residents, we're going to give you a discount on picking up your trash. Maybe instead of $20, or I know it's not bad, much more expensive, but we're going to give you residents a discount on picking up your trash. And then, because we're part of this as a partnership, whatever percentages they put in, they would get that percentage back in equity, which is the ROI in the project, the stock in the project. They would be able to say to their residents, well, we've been talking amongst our company, putting up a gas station and selling our own diesel there, which we could give the community a benefit on a discount of diesel, which would actually be a marketing tool for that community who's underprivileged to change, to go through a paradigm shift. In addition, if you have, let us say, rowdy young men and women, we can put them to work in the union, where we have training through the apprenticeship programs in the union to give them confidence, give them self-esteem, give them something which they're not getting. And the other thing is, with private investors, we're looking for them as well. Because once we go into, we get our first one and done, we call it, we're going to give the private investors an opportunity to reinvest into the next, into the next, into the next. So if they wanted to invest into all 3, they can do that as well. So they would have a little equity in each one of the projects.
Nice. This is cool. I tried to stump a few of my guests on the podcast. And again, I think that's why your first one was so wildly popular, is I keep throwing these things at you, and you and I had not talked about a lot of this before.
No,
And
no.
you keep this. We're taking care of the kids, we're taking care of growth and everything else. And the one thing I got to say about getting the union training is you don't have to pay back the student debt on that.
Oh, my heart breaks for that because,
Yeah.
the one thing, I'm a union daughter. My dad was in the union and I saw what it did to him.
Mhm.
He was a little rebel rouser, but the union, like the military, it forms you, it gives you responsibility, but it gives you confidence back. And with
Mhm.
our apprenticeship programs through our technology center, where we're going to be bringing in the union through their apprenticeship programs,
Mhm.
we'll be able to teach them our technology.
Yep.
With the waste to energy, with the gas power plant, with the CO2, and boy, Stu, we've got a whole bunch more, which is actually in our documentation that we want to bring and
Cool.
start teaching about, because we want to invest into the future. Selfishly speaking, too, our plants go beyond 40 years. I won't say how old I am, but what I will say is my young daughter, who's 11 years old, will be able to take this on into her generations and beyond.
And wind, I think wind is great,
Yeah.
but the average life expectancy, the mean time between failure, is 10 years. And when you're taking a look at machines that are wind, you're talking 40, 50 years and beyond. And that's some serious ROI on not having to bury those things in that system.
Absolutely.
And if I understood the technology after looking through your last group, it was upgradable in systems as opposed to just throwing out, as you said, the baby with the bathwater. It's upgradable. So if I remember correctly.
You are absolutely correct. Spot on. Because what we do is we keep evolving, going into the fifth, going into the
Wow.
sixth generation. We keep up with the times. And actually, in essence, we're ahead of the times because the green wave started over in Europe 20 years ago.
Uh-huh.
We've been doing this 20 years ago. The United States is just getting into the green wave, and God help us if we have to go through 20 years of this.
Oh.
But with our technology, we don't. We can stop a tsunami coming back in such a treacherous way, like Germany's going to be experiencing and Europe is going to be experiencing.
Yeah, over the next several years.
Yes, yes. And here's the thing, we can work side by side with the oil companies. We have technology there, greening petroleum. We can work side by side with the coal companies, clean coal. We can take those coal ash fields and not just let them lay dormant or cherry pick through them. Turn them into diesel, turn them into products that are making the economy and the world economy move.
Well, the diesel shortage here is going to be horrible.
Oh.
I mean, it is in our East Coast and West Coast. The prices are going through the roof because they're on the international pricing models because they haven't updated their refineries. So this is going to be important in the future and stuff.
Absolutely.
And as you're such a fabulous resource, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, they can contact me. We have a website, and I think last time you put that out there for them.
Yep.
And they can contact me. My telephone numbers are there. My emails are there.
And you're on LinkedIn.
Oh, absolutely, on LinkedIn. That place blew up after this podcast. Thank you so much, Stuart.
Oh, my pleasure. I just want to have a inside baseball for our listeners, and that is I've had so much fun bugging you on LinkedIn. It's fun to see what you're doing out there and everything else. So reach out to Debra Wold. It's WOLD out there, and not the way Oklahoman and Texans talk. It's Wald, I guess, is WOLD. So how do you say that back east?
Wold.
Okay.
Like wool, but tea.
Yeah, sorry. From Oklahoma and Texas, you're Wald, so I'll work on that for the next time. But is there anything, what's coming around the corner for Grenelily, and then what's coming around the corner for Debra? That's the last two questions for us.
So first of all, I would just like to thank you, Stuart. You've been phenomenal. I've had a blast on here, learned so much from you, and I just appreciate your humanity and the way you bring information across. It really speaks to a lot of people that have never heard you before and totally inspired by you. I get personal messages back saying, what an incredible host. He's amazing. So we are very blessed, very blessed. So what Grenelily holds is we're just right now trying to figure out what's the best location. So if anybody out there as a municipality or a county would like to have a deeper discussion, bring us to you, like what's happening in Nebraska and Iowa. We'd love to do a PowerPoint presentation for you. We can do it online. Or I personally like to do it in person because I can talk to the people and answer questions. I'll bring my whole entire team with me. And we've got several locations, but we're always open to learning about more.
Yep.
And for personally speaking, for me, I just have to say, thank God I made it through a situation that just happened in 20 days. God got me through a very treacherous situation.
Yep.
And I'm so grateful for that, grateful for the prayers. And I know he's got me alive for some purpose.
Right.
It's not just for the business, but through the business, I personally get to share my faith, my friendship, and my fellowship with other people. And I really want to make this world a better place for the next generations.
You know, I really appreciate it because when you and I chit-chatted about that, prayer does work, Deborah, and
Absolutely.
and miracles happen as well too. So
Yeah.
maybe with Grenelily, we can provide miracles for some of these ESG and green. Let's make the U.S. as green as your shirt. I mean,
there we go. That would be wonderful.
Well, sounds fantastic. And we will have all of this in the show notes and everything else for you as well. And now you've set the bar so high with the successfulness of the first podcast. Man, if this one goes off even higher, we got a bar to hit here, Deborah. I don't know.
By the grace of God, the good news will get out there and people will be blessed and want to participate with us.
There you go. Well, thank you for stopping by today.
Thank you too, sir. Have a lovely day.